friends, it's Allison here from NicePeopleStamp.com, and I'm so excited to share the Country Home online class with you. This is the perfect fall class as we all ease into fall all across Canada. I know that the temperatures here in Calgary have definitely dipped, and it is time to do some fall creating. So this is what you will have received in your class pack from me if you made no substitutions or additions. So we've got the Country Home stamp set, the galvanized buttons, our 4 colors of Stampin' Blends, which are dark crumb cake, dark mint macaron, light smoky slate, and dark daffodil delight, and of course your card supplies from me. So you're also going to need the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad, as well as some adhesives and some clear blocks for your stamps. But other than that, we're basically ready to go. Make sure you have a piece of scrap paper to do one of our backgrounds. We're going to stamp off the paper, so we'll need a piece of scrap, and I'll grab mine in a second here. So let's dive right in. We've got 6 great cards to make together today. So this is the class pack that you received free from me for joining my class. And what you're going to find inside is a little letter on top thanking you for joining me. And yes, thank you so much for being here. It really means the world to me that you're supporting my business. And then we have our supply list. So if you are creating and you think, my goodness, what did she emboss this piece of cardstock with? You can actually refer to the class supply list. It's complete with order numbers and everything. So when you're ready to order, that is all ready for you. Okay, we are going to jump in with our very first card. So it's just going to be this one on top here. Has the vanilla lace inside. So I am going to make one of each card in the video today, but just keep in mind that you have the supplies for 2 cards. So I'll just split up my supplies so I can make my 1 card on the video today. And you can either make both cards at one time, or you can make them one at a time and go back and forth on your video. All right, I just had to grab some scissors because what I'm going to do is this lace trim is enough for both cards, so I'm just going to cut that and split it. This piece is enough for both cards, but you might want to wait to cut it to see how you want it to go. I'll show you within the video how I'm going to cut mine, so you may want to wait on that. And then you have your linen thread. I love this stuff. It's perfectly rustic for fall. And we'll just cut that in half so we have enough for both of our cards. All right. So let's get started on card number 1. Let's just get some pieces put together here so I can start getting some stuff out of the way. So I've got this gorgeous piece of embossed cardstock, and I embossed this for you using the brand new tin tile embossing folder, and it's absolutely stunning. No matter which way you look at it, it's just gorgeous. So if you don't have this on your wish list yet, you're gonna want to put it on that shopping list because it's just beautiful. All right, so when we have our embossed cardstock, I always like to put extra adhesive to make sure that really sticks. So we're sticking that piece onto our smoky slate. And then this will go right onto our card base. And of course our card base is our thick Whisper White cardstock. Whenever you're making a white card base, always use the thick Whisper White, or else if your card has any weight to it, it may tip over with the regular Whisper White. All right, so next step, I'd like to do some stamping. So I'm going to stamp onto this piece here. So this is a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock. Whenever you're using the blends markers, it's important to use the thick Whisper White. we're going to use the fun milk jug. So just ink that up with your Memento black ink pad and stamp it pretty close to the bottom. Okay. And then we have this gorgeous stamp, and this is all our, foliage, flowers, stuff like that. So we're going to use the one that has these cotton tufts. So we'll just ink that up, and we'll place that right on top of our milk jug. There we go. I love these photopolymer stamps. They make placement so easy. We're also going to stamp our sentiment, and this piece of paper is just slightly smaller than the actual sentiment, so a little bit of the cursive may go off. So I'm going to grab myself a piece of scrap. I ripped it taking it out of the drawer, but it still does the trick. Okay, so let's stamp our sentiment, and we're going to stamp Happy Harvest Blessings. So we're going to flag the right end. So make your sentiment just a little bit more to the left. Just about like that. Gorgeous. And we can put our memento away for now. And we can scooch this out of the way. And we're going to go back in and do some coloring on this image here. So remember, we have those 4 colors of our blends markers, and I'm just going to get started, and I'm going to start with the milk jug. So I'm going to take my dark crumb cake, and everywhere we have these little, I think they look like rust spots, I'm going to add some of my crumb cake. And it's just meant to be looking like rust, so it shouldn't be super, smooth or uniform. It's supposed to look like our milk jug has rusted. All right, so let's just add a little bit more. Let's add some more rust. Make it nice and rustic. Okay, so then I'm going to take my light smoky slate, and I like to use the bullet end to color in the handles and all my little small pieces and close to my foliage and around the edge. I just find it easiest to have control with that. All right. So now that my outside edge is done, I'm going to switch it to the brush tip, and I'm just going to go in and color the remainder. And we can do a little bit of swirling of the colors between the crumb cake and the smoky slate, just to make that rust sort of blend a little bit with the slate, so it looks like it's all part of the jug. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. We have a nice rusty milk jug. Super cute. Let me bring that up to the camera for you. Really fun technique, but super easy, and 2 colors that maybe you might think don't go together, but when you pair them in this way, we get this really great rustic look. So now I'm going to take the bullet end of my smoky slate, and I'm just going to add some sort of depth and shadow to the bottom of my cotton tufts. At least I think that's what these are. I would absolutely love to be able to grow something like this in my yard. I think it's so beautiful. All right, so we have our cotton tufts in there. And we've just added some shadow. And now I'm going to go in and color my leaves. So these are pretty small, so I'm going to use the bullet tip of my marker, the Mint Macaron. And with these markers, keep in mind that you don't always have to do all that blending and shading. They're really great markers. So we're not really doing a lot of blending. We are a little bit for our rusty milk jugs, but other than that, we're basically just coloring in with the markers. And these are great markers to color with. The tips are so smooth. They lay down a lot of saturated color, and you don't see the marker lines. So I really love these markers for coloring anything, whether I'm going to be blending or not. So I think you'll really love them once you start to use them in that way too. So now I have my Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to color in this cute blossom and also these little circles, which I've sort of imagined are maybe berries, maybe buds. We don't know. There we go. And then the last step is to take our crumb cake and to color these seed pods. So I'm going to use my bullet tip because we do have some areas that you may want to try and keep white where that seed pod is sort of open. I'm not really worrying too much about it, but if you want to make sure that you keep those centers white, then definitely use the bullet tip. I'm sort of going a little bit faster, but if you want to be a little bit more precise, feel free. Of course, you can always pause, rewind, stop, come back later. This is your own online class, so you are in charge of the controls. All right, so that is our gorgeous image. So let me bring that up to the camera for you. So I just love this stamp set, and coloring with the blends markers is just so simple. I absolutely love the effect. All right, so we are going to create a fun little collage, if you will, on the side here. So let's get our sentiment ready. Let's flag the end. So we'll just cut up the middle and cut in from each side. There we go. And then I'm going to cut my chicken wire. So I'd like to use half for each of my cards, approximately. I'm not really too worried about it being perfect. And I'm just sort of cutting where the two wires meet. Okay. So you'll have this piece left for your second card, and I'm going to use this piece on this card. So before I put that on, I want to put on my lace trim. And what I'm going to do is just put on a little bit of snail adhesive. So if this is your milk jug, we're just putting some snail along this side right here on the back side. Okay. And I want to just place my lace on and kind of bunch it up a little bit. So we're getting a little bit of a ruched look. The snail won't really want to stick the lace on permanently. We're just doing it with snail right now to kind of see to make sure we get it in the right spot, see what it'll look like. I like that. And then now I'm just going to stick it down with a couple of dimensionals. That'll really do the sticking for us. There we go. Give them a real good press down. If you have some tear and tape adhesive, that would be a great use for that. I don't have any at my filming station, so this will work just fine. All right, so let's dimensional the whole back of our milk jug. And then what I want to do is this piece is going to go over here like this, but I want my chicken wire to sort of come out of the side here. So what I'm going to do is remove my dimensional backs. There we go. And I'm just going to put my chicken wire about where I want it. And then I'm just going to stick this on. And those dimensionals will stick down the chicken wire as well. So it'll be kind of hanging off. but it's stuck down well enough with the dimensionals on the back side there, okay? So now we can take one of our galvanized buttons and our linen thread. We can thread that through. I really like using the mini glue dots to put on my buttons, but whatever you like to use to put on your buttons, you want to grab that adhesive. So we're just going to tie a knot and then go ahead and tie a bow. There we go. Cute. And I want to put my sentiment on, and it's going to go sort of through here. And so this piece already has dimensionals on the back side, but this piece right here is going to need a dimensional. So we'll just put it sort of behind the word happy, and then we'll put some snail adhesive on the other side. And it says Happy Harvest Blessings. And then I'm just going to take one of my mini glue dots, put it on the back of my button, and nestle my button sort of in with that lace. And that is our very first card in the Country Home online class. I hope you love it. I am so thrilled to share these cards with you. They are some of my favorites I've done in a while. And I think that the color palette here is just gorgeous. So I hope you're loving it as much as I am. And let's move on to card number 2. All right. So card number 2, we are going to use the Crushed Curry card base. So you'll notice we're using the dark Daffodil Delight blends, which I think matches very well with the Crushed Curry cardstock. That's the great thing about having sort of like that multi-dimensional sort of two-tone, because, you know, the light Daffodil Delight goes really good with Daffodil Delight. The dark Daffodil Delight goes great with Crushed Curry. So it's awesome. So let's take our linen thread and we're going to cut this in half again, just so we make sure we have enough for both of our projects. There we go. All right. So I'm going to want to bring in my grid paper again, because we're going to stamp off the edge for one of our background pieces, and that's this smoky slate piece. So grab that. And we're going to use this tin tile stamp. That's that square one. And our Memento ink pad again. And what we're going to do is create sort of a background, but I know you're probably thinking as I'm stamping this, oh my gosh, she's not really taking the time to line it up. Oh, it's gonna look so bad. Don't worry, this is just a background piece. It does not need to be lined up. It certainly doesn't need to be perfect, and it's gonna look great because there's not a whole bunch of this showing. So don't worry if it's not perfection, if it's not straight. Look at mine, mine's a hot mess, and it's not gonna matter one bit. So really, really, really don't worry. I'm not lining it up. I'm stamping over stuff. It's totally fine. All right, let's get that last edge done. There we go. Okay, so that is our background piece. And we can put that onto our card base, but first let's stamp our piece of Whisper White. Again, we're using the Whisper White Thick. And we are going to stamp Simply Thankful for All the Good Things. This is such a great sentiment. All right, so we want to stamp that pretty close to the left-hand side and pretty close to the bottom edge. Okay. And next up, we want our other pitcher. I think this one looks like more like a pitcher than a milk jug. And we're going to stamp this one quite close to the bottom. There we go. And this time we have the foliage that has the cattails in it and what looks like an artichoke or like a little cabbage kind of thing. So we'll ink that up and we'll stamp that right into our picture. And it may go off just a little bit on the top. Yep, just where the cattails poke out. All right. So let's put this aside to dry. And we can attach this to our crushed curry. And I'm going to quickly show you what I mean by it's not a big deal that it's not all straight and perfect, because, so this will go on just about like that. And then watch, this piece is going on like this. So any mistakes we made in the background are totally forgiven because you can't really see them. So nice way to add some cool touches, but also kind of cool that you don't have to make it perfect. All right, so let's bring in our Stampin' Blends. And we have our crumb cake again, and we're going to do our rust spots in our jug or our pitcher. There we go. And again, don't be too worried about everything being perfect. Remember, rust certainly is not picky about how it looks. That's kind of the deal with rust. It does its own thing. So we're just making it look a little rustic. All right, so let's go in with our mint macaron. And we are making the world's most beautiful jug with the mint macaron and crumb cake together. I absolutely adore how this looks when it's done. You're gonna love it too. All right, so we've done our outside with our mint macaron bullet tip. Let's move to the brush tip. And again, we're going to sort of blend a little bit of our rust using that circular motion with our blends marker, just where the crumb cake and the mint macaron meet. There we go. And let's just blend that a little better. There we go. Oh, I just love how this looks. Isn't that so cool? That rusty picture. I love it. Okay, so let's take our crumb cake and we're just going to add some shading into our cattails. Just where those little dots already are. Isn't that convenient? And then let's take our same crumb cake. We're going to add some shading into this little artichoke looking thing. I think it is an artichoke. I did once get a gorgeous flower arrangement with a thing that looked like an artichoke inside it. I'm pretty certain it was. There we go. So now let's take our mint macaron. And again, we're just going to add that sort of on top and blend with the crumb cake. All right, while we have the mint macaron out, we can just go in and color all these itty bitty little leaves. I definitely recommend the bullet tip for this if you really want control. If you want them to look a little feathery, you can use the brush tip. If you want to stay inside the lines, I like the bullet tip, but to each their own. The brush tip actually has a finer point, but if you press down, you get a thicker look. So it's all about the pressure. There we go. All right, so let's take our smoky slate and color in these seeds, berries, whatever. There we go. And then we're gonna go back in with our crumb cake again and add some definition into our leaves. So there's sort of some lines already within the leaves, or veins, if you will. So we're just going to use those to our advantage, and that's where we're going to add the crumb cake. And then we'll take our Daffodil Delight and we'll go in, and again, we'll just sort of swirl that color together. So we don't want to totally get rid of that crumb cake and blend it completely. We want it to have that dimension, but we do want to sort of swirl the colors together a bit to soften those lines between the crumb cake and the Daffodil Delight. There we go, almost done. All right, gorgeous. So let's bring that up to the camera for you again. Just beautiful. And you know what? It's really, really easy to color with these markers. And I hope you're finding that during this class. It's really not as difficult as maybe you would have thought. All right, if this is your first time using them, if it's not your first time, then you probably know that already. All right, so let's add some dimensionals to the back of our focal piece. There we go. Alrighty, we'll add this onto our card base. And then of course we need another one of our gorgeous galvanized buttons. I've already used so many of these. Look at my container. I have just a few left. Thankfully, I've already ordered another package. All right, so let's put our twine through and tie a bow just like we did on our last card. Oh, you know, that first bow went so well. That's why the second bow is not. There we go. All right. So again, I'm going to just put one of my mini glue dots on the back. And this one is going to get nestled into my arrangement here. And that, my friends, is card number 2, all complete. And we are already moving on to card number 3. So card number 3 is our Whisper White card base. And we have, again, I have all the pieces to make 2 cards, but I'll just make 1. So this piece here is for both cards, this long piece of thick Whisper White. And then we have some circles. And again, some chicken wire that's for both cards and linen thread that's for both, but I'm gonna cut that in half right now. There we go. All right. So let's bring back in our grid paper. Let's just move a couple of things here because I want to create a background on this piece here with our picture. So what I want to do is create just a really simple stamped background, and we're going to color it in just so we have some, almost like making our own pattern paper. So I'm just going to start up at the top, and I'm stamping on an angle and offsetting. However, again, this is a lot of it is getting covered up, so I don't want you to worry about things being super straight or, you know, not even. We are not worrying about that, okay? We're just winging it. There we go. I'm sure you're noticing that mine is definitely not perfect, and that is completely fine with me. All right, so that is our background piece. we also want to stamp the piece that's for both. We are going to stamp with the image that has the cat tails again. You could use either one, but we're going to use the cat tails, I think. And you have enough cardstock here for both of your cards. So if you're making both at one time, you'll stamp another one over here. So you have enough for 2. All right. Oh, we can leave that out because I also want to stamp on this little circle. I want the sentiment that says, "So grateful for someone like you in my life." Another such good sentiment. And we're just going to stamp that onto our circle. There we go. And we can start coloring. So I am going to do some simple coloring on these milk jugs. We are just going to do straight up color in, no shading. If you'd like to do some shading, the rust shading like we did before, feel free. But I did not do that on my original card, and so I'm just going to carry on. And I just colored them all in. All right. And I am going to be doing mine one at a time because I kind of like to see where the colors are going to fall before I, color them all in, because sometimes you end up with 2 colors side by side that you didn't really want. So I like to do them one by one rather than go and do all my grays and then all my daffodils and all my mint. All right. Let's do this one in the corner with crumb cake. There we go. And mint. I love this mint macaron color. It was a Stampin' Up! Color a while ago. It was an in color, and Stampin' Up! Brought it back. They heard our cries when we asked for it back, and they delivered. And I'm happy about that. I really, really like that mint macaron. There we go. And then let's go with gray over here. I like to spin my paper around. You'll find that you might be most comfortable using the markers like one edge in comparison to the others, but it just is personal preference. That's what I find easiest, but whatever works for you. And we are almost done. A couple more to go. I love the saturation these markers bring. Just such deep, rich color. All right. And then let's do a mint one right down at the bottom here. There we go. Oh, I colored on my table a little. That's okay. I should have been using my grid paper. Okay, so we can put this onto our card base. There we go. So we'll just put that right down onto our Whisper White. We've also got this gorgeous piece of corrugated cardstock. So I used a corrugated embossing folder. So let's add some snail to that. We're just gonna put it, there's about 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches, about 1.25 inches from the bottom. There we go. That's that new corrugated embossing folder. This is part of the festive farmhouse suite. It is just gorgeous. I love this. All right, so now we can color our foliage, and we're going to do this the same as we did on our last card. So we'll add some crumb cake up there and into our artichoke looking thing. I think it really is an artichoke. Maybe someone else knows. Email me if you know what this flower's called. Okay, so then we have our mint macaron, and we'll go in and add that into our artichoke. There we go. And then of course our little leaves. Ooh, I kind of colored outside the lines. That's okay. So this year, I don't really know what we are going to do for Thanksgiving. Considering both of our families don't live here, my husband and I'm not really sure what we're going to get up to. Sometimes we get together with my best friend and her family because she also has no family in town, except for her brother, but her brother usually goes away. So we'll just have to see. All right, so crumb cake into the veins of our leaves. There we go. And then our Daffodil Delight. Remember to swirl a little so we don't have the super harsh look between the daffodil and the crumb cake. All right. Oh my gosh, I love this. I can't believe we're already on our last card. I feel like this class went really fast, even though we did so much coloring. There we go. Oh, one leaf. I missed it. There we go. And then we have our little smoky slate balls, berries, seeds, whatever we're calling them. There we go. And now, I know, we're going to fussy cut this, but don't worry, we're not fussy cutting every single little leaf. We are just doing a quick fussy cut, which means not every leaf is getting cut. We're just gonna kind of cut them in a bunch together. So don't fret. Fussy cutting isn't as bad as some people make it out to be. I quite like fussy cutting, but I know some people don't. Okay, so when you get to these big, tall things of so many leaves, don't cut around every leaf. Just sort of make it bumpy on the sides a little, and then carry up on into the next. You don't have to cut every single little piece, or else that would take you all day. It will take me all day. Maybe it wouldn't take you all day. I like fussy cutting, but maybe not like every little leaf in there. I just kind of make them into little bumps. There we go. Almost done. See, that wasn't so bad. There we go. Ta-da! All right, so we have our sentiment. We're going to put that onto our mint macaron. Okay, and this piece. So let's just sort of envision, okay? So this piece is gonna go kind of like this, and we're gonna have this coming out like that. And then of course we want some of our chicken wire. So I'm just going to go in and cut some of that away because we want to have enough for both our cards. So that's gonna kind of sneak in like that. Let's put it this way. I think, no. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to round off these ends and I'm gonna put it in like that. Okay. All right, so that's what we kind of want it to look like. So I'm going to pick this up and sort of remember my placement, add a little bit of snail on the back side, and then add that back on, just like that. And then I want to make sure that my chicken wire gets stuck down. So I'm again going to use dimensionals on the back here. So make sure you get them all up into that foliage as well. So I don't actually use any adhesive right onto the chicken wire. I like to just use my dimensionals to help stick it down. You can pull it out just a smidge. There we go. And then of course we will finish with a galvanized button and our linen thread. There we go. I thought I wasn't going to be able to thread the button. These ones are actually pretty easy. The holes are quite large for the linen thread, so we shouldn't have too much problem. All right, so tie that up and then do a cute bow. Oh, bow fail number 2. That always happens if I'm doing a video. If I'm at home crafting by myself, bows seem so much easier. But if I'm shooting a video or especially on a Facebook Live, I feel like I'm all thumbs. All right. So there we go. We're gonna add another one of our mini glue dots. Oh, am I out? Oh, one left. There we go. And we'll just add that up in sort of where our foliage and our chicken wire is. And that is our gorgeous card number 3. So let's take a look at the 3 cards we made together. You'll of course have 6 cards total because you have the supplies for 2 of each. Can you guys see that? I hope so. So I've had just the greatest time creating these gorgeous fall cards with you. I hope you've had a great time coloring and assembling with me, and I hope that you'll join me for my next online class. I have a class planned for almost every single week this fall, so make sure that you're signed up to my newsletter. I will put a link in the video description so you can sign up, as well as in the email that you'll receive this video in, because you don't want to miss out on any of the great online classes I have planned. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a great time creating with you, and I can't wait to do it all again soon. Bye-bye.